Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next WASTELESS WORLD TALKS are here with Kevin and Bill and myself to talk next term. And the term today is last, L-A-S-T. And Kevin, I will start with you to having you on the top of my screen. So if you close your eyes and you hear the term last, what came first to your mind?
I think of last time. The last time we did this, the last time we did that, the last time I went here, the last time. So I see it as the most the closest memories, the closest events, the closest time of doing something.
Okay. What about you, Bill?
I have to ask you, Kevin, last, does that have anything to do with death or mortality? This is the last time I'm going to see you. This is the last time I did that because death is right around the corner.
I wasn't thinking of it like that, but of course, the older you get, the more it becomes that way. So, when you're actually, I was thinking yesterday, I was walking past the main hospital in Copenhagen, and I was thinking that when you're young, you go to a hospital to get well. When you're old, you go to a hospital to die. And I think it's exactly the same with the word last. When you're young, it is just the last time. So you're building up blocks of memory. But when you're old, then you are looking back. And is this the last time? Will this be the last?
Boy, it took a real morose turn, didn't it? Okay, Michael, to your question. Last, being a competitive person, the first thought that came to my mind was first place and last place.
You answer exactly the same like my mom. I asked her, it was the first time I should greet you. I asked her and she answered exactly that. But she said at the same time, don't ask me again similar questions.
So the other thought was something will last a long time. So if I make a lot of food, I can say, well, this will last a long time.
You mentioned Bill last and first, but what is the opposite of last if we do not take this last and first example?
If we don't use that example.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about squander? It will last a long time, or I will squander it.
I never heard the term, so we came to that because I said, okay, so we know right now last, and what about lasting?
Something that you don't like, and it just keeps going on, and you think, oh, this is lasting too long.
It was quite interesting because we saw last, and the people say last and lasting are in opposite. They said that last is the end, lasting is never ending in some way.
I like that.
And they understand it this way. And we came to one interesting topic. I asked them at the end, do you have any memory where the term last is connected to something positive? Because many have it connected to negative things, as you mentioned at the beginning, Kevin, it was not, but we can connect it to death, to the end, and so on. Kevin will come back probably. So what about you, Bill? Do you have any memory where the term last is connected to positive thing?
Yes. We have a phrase here called last man standing, which, right? That's that's positive, means you're stronger than everyone else, or you have more um, um, something, last man standing.
And do you have this in your life, this connection?
Well, yes. I mean, my immediate reaction is, well, yes, of course. I have many times been the last man standing. Why? I don't know. I've never liked to give up.
When I ask about the positive, so the answer was, for example, the last day of school for children is great because the next day is the first day of holiday. So you celebrate generally the last day or the day before you give birth to the child. So last day he or she is, let me check what's probably Kevin is writing something. Keep losing the sound. There is an internet. So maybe he will come back or not. We will see. So we will continue, and he has some internet connection problems. So it's quite interesting because more frequently we have it connected with something negative. But on the other hand, there even exists the positive thing. So can you hear us now, Kevin?
Yep, no, I can hear you. Hopefully it will last. Sorry about that.
You've been practicing that one, haven't you?
I will say, Kevin, that was the last time that you did it.
I think my computer has a lasting problem.
I think, did you install the crowd whatever update by Microsoft? The blue screen update. I was asking Bill whether he has connected the term last, which many understood more or less as a negative thing, if he has it connected in his life to something positive. Do you have it?
A lot of people would like everlasting life. I don't see that as a positive myself, but some certainly do.
I don't see that as a positive either.
So, no, I think what Bill said about something lasting, that is extremely positive. That's, if you've got a resource and it will last for a long period of time, then it's a great thing. Or if it's, if you can renew it, so it's everlasting.
Or if you have a relationship with someone, it's a lasting relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
My question was not about lasting to you, Kevin. It was about the connection between the term last in a positive way. So what was last, but you feel it was positive?
Sorry, Michael.
I can see.
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, if you have in your life something which was last, but was positive.
To be last. My 3 kids, the youngest one was last at everything. He was the last to walk, the last to speak. Well, it's actually still hard to get him to speak. But he just sails through every exam. He just does things his way. He does it at his speed. He may be the last, but everything he does is completely 100% there.
That's great.
Yeah. It just takes a while to get used to how your kids are, and don't try to force them into anything, which I think is really important. Let them do it at their speed.
Can you imagine that the current government is the last government needed?
Guys, I think I have to quit out. I can't hear anything. I'll see you next week.
See you. So, Bill, can you imagine that current government or the governments all around the globe will be the last ones needed?
Well, the last ones that there are, if we have another world war, the last one needed, I would love to think that, but as long as there are people who, love the power and don't respect other people, it's not the last one that's needed, because that's the function of government, is to um, provide some rules that you have to play by. Um, when Kevin was talking about lasting, having to do with death, again, I'm coming back to that. I don't know why, but uh, for example, they say that the first person to live to be 150 years old is alive today, and they keep coming up with these technologies and whatever they do with the genes or the umbilical cord or whatever. They've got so many different ways now of making people live longer, or of holding out the hope that maybe you could live forever. And I was thinking about that yesterday, because won't that just change everything? You will no longer need to believe in heaven or some sort of um, reward for being good all your life. If you are still alive, but you're on some sort of life support, what about all your money? Does it go to, if you have money, nowadays you die and it goes to whoever you've named in your will, but if you're living forever, we'll need to have a different status, a financial status, of somebody taking care of you. You're certainly not going to work for 150 years. You're not going to retire, at age 60 or 65 or something. I don't know. It just changes everything if your life is lasting. In fact, the church uses the word everlasting. So that the word lasting has got a lot of different connotations.
And you remember the
But you
time?
had asked you had asked me about a time when I was the last, and I just keep going. That's just been my way, which is sort of different now. I'm in a stage of my life right now where I am um, purposely slowing down. I don't need to go to as many meetings. I don't need to, in fact, I don't need to much of anything except write my books, and have interesting conversations like this. Um, but it's different. The purpose has changed, and what brings me joy has changed, or is in the process of changing. So, I'm lasting in a different way. I guess throughout the course of your life, you re-engineer yourself several different times, don't you?
Probably. I had a interesting discussion yesterday in the morning uh, with one of my friends in here in my office, and she said, Michael, I have, for whatever reason, she's not a finance or economist. She looked at the national debt, and she said, I did not know that all the states all around the globe are in debt. And I have seen a development of US debt generally from the beginning of the state. And there was only 1 year when it was not in debt. Of course, the beginning was a rather small debt, and then it skyrocketed, and it will. Right now, there was a number presented somewhere, and it was said that I even don't know how to read this number. It has so many zeros at the end. And it was mentioned there that 73% of all taxes in the US currently goes to pay the how it's called?
The interest.
The interest
The
rate.
interest on the debt.
73% of all taxes. And she said, okay, so if everybody is in debt, whom they pay, who is the one who benefit from the debt? It's an interesting question.
The giants.
13 families. I have heard about 13 several times from different countries, locations, continents. They all speak about 13 families. Quite interesting.
I get into those conversations. That's no different than it was 500 years ago, or probably 1,000 years ago. There are a few families who control everything. They have the banks. They have oftentimes the Pope is one of them, because that's very powerful. But it's the people in power. It's the royalty. And then there's the workers. Then there's you and me.
So it is. And it will be interesting. You said the last man standing. I would be really interesting who will be the last giant standing. I don't know whether you have seen that the one of the company WIZ, they refused the highest offer by Google, 23 billion US dollars, something like that. That was nice move. I tried to connect with the owner, with the CEO. Not connected yet, but that was nice.
Yeah, nobody expected that. So the last. Which one of the giants? Which one of these big companies? No company lasts forever, right? When I went to business school back in the 70s, the big companies were U.S. Steel, which China or somebody's trying to buy now, and General Electric, IBM. You don't hear about these companies anymore, right? And so many companies that used to be on the New York Stock Exchange, or the Dow Jones has 20 companies on it. Those companies have changed over the years. So it's interesting to think, where are the companies that are currently running everything? Like Elon Musk. Okay, he's not a company, but he's made a lot of companies. 10 years from now, or 30 years from now, he'll just be a paragraph in a business book someplace. And Google and all the others that are running the show now and who have so much power, that power will leach away. It will drain away. So historically, you really have to look at, when you talk about 13 families, historically that's always been the case, but they've always been different companies, different families.
Have you been somehow influenced by the internet outage a few days ago?
I don't want to say that I've not been affected, because I don't want to jinx it, but no, we have not suffered at all. We also have not tried to fly. We also, so we're just keeping our heads down while they figure it out.
For me, the internet was faster. That's what I have feel. So LinkedIn was for a few days faster. That's the, and I put this how it's called, this questionnaire on LinkedIn generally, who was affected, the poll, and 60% say no, and 20 ask, what outage? We don't know. So it's quite interesting. The question is if there really was such a thing. And you remember very well our proposal or my proposal to make a day without data as a test. So they tested.
Somebody was listening.
It's not the first time. I remember several times when we talk about it, and in few days it happened. So I hope that's not the last time they do so, because we are trying not to blame, we are trying to find a solution, to find a language, to find a way out of it frequently. So,
well, I think that as parents, one of the most important skills that we need to teach our children is exactly what you said, how to live without the technology. I remember when I was growing up, and my brother and I were very active in the Boy Scouts. And in the Boy Scouts, you go out into the woods, and one of the challenges is to see how little you need, right? You can catch your own fish, you can eat your own berries, you can and so on. And really, you need very little, and you get to watch the great model being nature, and you can be like nature. You can practice. We used to practice hiding in the woods, in the shrubs, and then someone else would come through the woods to see if he could see you. And so, we would put leaves in front of our face so they don't see the whites of our face. We would crawl under a log or whatever, trying to be like nature. And now when mankind has violated nature so terribly, and big data is a part of this, right? These data centers, which are all storing photographs that we never look at again. I saw a figure, 92% of what's in the data centers has not been used in 3 years or 5 years or whatever the figure was. We don't use it, but we store the data. The other thing that I heard about big data was there is a company called, what's the company that does your heritage? You send them a swab out of your mouth,
I know
and they
what you
check your
mean.
DNA.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I do not know the name.
And someone asked the question, do you mean that company owns the DNA from millions of people? What? Wow, that's got to be very valuable, right? So the big data, we're just got big. I think everybody should take off their shoes and socks and go outside and walk in the grass or walk in the beach or whatever, just to get our soul, back to nature. But we're going in the opposite direction.
It will be very interesting to ask the people, and I will ask on LinkedIn, what is the last time you did that, what you just described? The last time you take your shoes off and walk in nature. Will be very interesting. I will give 4 answers there to see how disconnected we are. There is another aspect that a lot of people will lie, of course, to look better, but I think that a lot of people who take part in my awareness polls are not lying. Few will be.
I don't think so. I don't. It says that you can see how people answer, but who cares? Who cares? So when is the last time? Yeah.
Again, a simple question is the same like with the television. Why do you watch television? The people simply don't know. So it was really hard for them to answer. And it's quite interesting to look at it because it indicates quite a lot. And I think we can even, through this question, through the last, we can wake up the awareness. If you like, if you ask, if you use it the right way, it can be very powerful.
That's like waste. The very first step for preventing waste is just to be aware, is to wake up your consciousness, to study it a little bit, to talk about it a little bit, raise that awareness, right?
You know, here they are preparing right now the legislation that we have to give back the plastic bottles and the aluminum bottles. We don't that. We do only glass bottles. And in the past, when you recycle, you have been requested to crash them down. Right now, you are requested not to crash them down because you pay something for the bottle and you get one bottle back. What is interesting, it's generally the waste industry prepared this legislation, but they are shooting themselves in the leg already. Because until now, if you spoke about waste, you spoke about weight or volume, so kilos or pounds or liters, whatever. And this was the waste. But right now, if you go with the empty bottle there, you do not speak about volume. Still, you have a product, and the product will be handed over, and then it becomes waste, not in your hand. And which means it's completely changed the way how people will understand the bottle. And they will start, and they already starting to ask, why do you crash the bottle after? We give it to you as a full bottle. Why do you crash it to make a new one? Why don't you refill it? There exists the technology, and it's easy to find it. So they prepared something without understanding the consequences. And you know, I love the articles all over the internet. You can read them every day. Industry 5.0 is changing the world. And then it's written AI, robotics, bullshit. But they are right. The title is right. The content is wrong. But the title is right. And the people don't read content. They read just the titles. So it's really, in a way, where the people who try to mislead generally by using big amount of information, you cannot read the articles because they are too long, you just read this. And they preparing great ground for me and for the reality. Because they prepare the people that it was the last time when they did not simply thought about it. And just now, if they connect just two dots, two informations, not many, just two, then they will have the solution. It's really interesting to watch this development. So I just...
Well, what you just said about it changing, the legislation will change our definition, because when I have a can in my hand and I've finished, I've drunk everything that's in there, it's no longer of any value, has no value, which is the value is the opposite of waste. But if they're going to pay me 10 cents, right, at the redemption center, it has value to me. I'll collect them all up and I'll make $10. So now it has value to me. So then and of course the waste management people, it has value to them too, because they're going to sort it and whatever they do with it and eventually sell it. So it's no longer waste to anybody. The problem with that is that they don't all get recycled. In fact, very, very few. I forget the number. A quarter, maybe a less than 25% of things that are turned in to the redemption center, the empty bottle, the empty can, ever actually are recycled.
I know, this
I
is the
remember,
issue.
yeah, So there's some waste, 75% waste, 25% value. We'll figure that out.
It's really easy to narrow it generally. It's really easy. From the perspective of industrial processing, logistics, and so on, it's not difficult. And right now, if the people will understand that the bottle is not waste, but it's a bottle until the moment, they will simply ask. They will simply ask, and it's not so hard to refill a bottle. Of course, if you do with the aluminum can, it's a little bit harder not to refill it, but to close it. But I have even seen lids which you can put on this can, and you can close the lid. Generally, it's a plastic attachment. You close it, and then you take it out away, and you put it on the next can, which is quite a good idea. And you know, we have right now, I don't know if you have it in the US, probably not. The legislation in Europe says that the lid must be connected to the bottle. So we have something.
Oh, that's good.
Something like that.
That's good.
Everybody, every second one is hating this because it's, you know, it's in the nose and so on. So but you remember, and they are in the US, I'm sure, glass bottles with a rubber end with a metal part which you can close, and they existed in Europe as well a long time ago. So we are just now coming back to the old ideas. We change the materials, but the idea is generally the same. And the crazy part is that a few years ago, the same companies, which generally the waste companies, who says you cannot throw away a bottle with the lid because they are from two different materials. So we collected lids separately. They even make a collection for a good thing and for good purpose and so on. A lot of people collected hundreds and thousands of the lids, send it somewhere and so on. But it was live from the very beginning. These two materials can be processed together. And here on the plastic bottle, it looks quite normal. But you know that I drink milk, and there is the same is on this cardboard is the same process. So same lid set, similar connection. So it's unbelievable. The question is, when the last nonsense will be introduced in the law. I think it will be the moment when the law will be at the end.
You know who writes those laws? It's not you and me that write those laws. It's the giants.
I know.
So it's good for them. It's good for their business. I like that idea though. When we walk on the beach every day, we have we repurpose a plastic bag, and there are so many plastic bags. I've got more plastic bags than we can ever use, but we fill them up. For a 1 hour walk on the beach, we can fill up a bag this big, and you can measure that either by the weight, as you mentioned, except a lot of it is just thin plastic, it's got no weight, or the number of times you have to bend over, so the number of units in the bag, other ways to measure it. But if you measure it by the number of units and then you try to identify what are those units, because if I can find out what they are, maybe I can go upstream and use shame or use somehow to slow down the flow of this stuff. But at least a quarter of the units that we pick up are lids, are these little caps, oftentimes red color or green color or some that makes them easy to find, but then I have to bend over. Oftentimes when I bend over to get that one, my eye sees another one over there and three more over there, that maybe a leaf was over covered up or whatever. They're all over the place. They drive me nuts.
There was just recently, yesterday or day before yesterday, they introduced one of the Czech universities start with making from the ocean plastic. Generally, they call it ocean plastic. That they start to make the refills for the 3D printers. You need to clean it, put the salt away, So this is needed, and then they have some special mix, and they can make this 3D print insides or refills, or how it's called. So they make it. They said that they are the first in the world who can do it. I'm not sure about it, but it's a way. It's a way how to do things. But generally, if the people do not start to prevent the ways happen, it will be never-ending story. So it's everyone who started with just picking up. I said to them, you can do it for all your life, and it will not help, because if somebody pick the trash and the people come back and the beach will be cleaned, so they will put it there again, because there are some dwarfs, or I don't know, some fairies who pick it up in the night, and in the morning it's clean. You know, it must be.
So I'm gonna the only exception I would take to what you just said is we have met people on the beach who are also carrying the plastic trash bag, and they said, we saw you do this, and so we're doing it now, and 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 that makes me feel good, because if the community does something that benefits the community because one person started doing it.
That's important. This is why it's so important. There exists even a world day where everybody is going in every state and picking up and so on. But these are not so effective. The effective are the ones, as you bent up, others see you, and they do the same. So to become the personal role model for the others, without paying them, without giving them any instruction, they just see you, and they immediately will understand the term. I just yesterday I assigned one of the new Industry 5.0 heroes in India, and he was writing an article about Education 5.0, but it was really interesting. And the interesting part was because it was very similar to what I teach for so many times, but he didn't know me. He didn't know my work. But we have a discussion, and it was very, very interesting. And he played exactly this role model aspect, and he would like to bring it into schools, which is great. And we have 1.5 minutes left. Even without Kevin, it's going so fast, even faster, I feel. So I hope it was the last time without him. But it was a great discussion, again, as usual. As usual.
And my last thought is that one day in my life, I will pick up the last bottle cap, plastic bottle cap. There is the last one out there.
That's
In fact, in fact, there is a very colorful piece of plastic that I did not pick up 10 years ago. And it laid out in the water and disintegrated into small pieces. So my wife and I still bend over today and we'll pick one up, and we call it the last one. Oh, I found another last one.
That's a strong, strong message. Thank you for your time. I wish you have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free, be human, and let the time when the last pick will come soon. Thanks a lot, and have a nice week. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.